Hello, I'm here to talk about linked lists. Um, so let's start. Let's start with defining a list. A list is an ordered collection of values where a value can occur more than once. So when we say a list is an ordered collection of values, what we're saying is if you have a list of 1, 2, 3, and another list 3, 2, 1, they are different lists. Um, in the simplest form, a list must be able to add an element, remove an element, delete an element, and then after that, you can do all sorts of different operations like concatenate two lists together or add tons of elements at the same time, that type of stuff. So how are lists implemented? Lists are implemented through arrays or linked lists. Now, I'm talking about a linked list, so we're going to talk about the disadvantages of arrays and why you would want a linked list over an array. Well, one benefit of an array is that it is really easy to implement. You allocate a block of memory and you store each element in different indices. So let's say you have an alphabetical ordered list of the alphabet, but you're missing B. So you have A, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, all the way to Z, and you want to add B. Now B goes between A and C, but you don't have a spot there. So to get a spot there free, you have to move C through Z, every one of those elements down one spot to make an empty spot to throw B in. And that's a really costly insert function. So that is the downside of an array. And another downside is sometimes when you start your program, you don't really know how many values you're going to store in your array. So you have to take a guess about how much the block of memory that you allocated for your array. So if you run out of space, there's nowhere to put an extra, a new value, or you could allocate tons of memory where you won't run out of room, but the same thing, it's really inefficient to allocate so much memory and not use it. So with linked lists, um, how we let's say here like, how we're going to implement a linked list. Well, first let's define a linked list. A linked list is like a sequence of nodes where each node has two parts at minimum. One part is a value, and the other part is a reference. Now the value will contain, just think of it like as a pill with two sides. The value part can contain anything from numbers to someone's first name, last name, and their address. And then the second part, the reference part, will point either to null, which will signify the end of the list, or where in memory the next node is. So data in a linked list can be the benefit of it is that you can keep adding to the list, and you don't need to know how big your list needs to be because every time you insert, you allocate new memory and have it point to it. So I'll explain that. You start with the first node. You put your first thing in the list you have, A. You throw A in there, and then the reference points. There's no other node. It's the first one, so it points to null, signifying your operations, knowing that there's no other list, no other node, I should say. So then the next one comes in B. You allocate memory and throw B, and then you have a pointer at the head, for the first node, and then you have that head point to B, and then so on. Then when you add C, you move your pointer to B and have B's reference point change from null to C, and so you go through the list and you add them all. So after you're done with adding the list, let's say you have same problem where you have the entire alphabet, but you don't have B in there. And so with your insert function, you want to add B. And so instead of moving every element like an array down to open up a slot for B, you just allocate memory for B. It's somewhere in memory. You move a temporary pointer to where it needs to go, and then you just change the pointer. So it's just you have a pointer up to there and then down back to C, and then that's it. Uh, and delete operations really simple too. You go to that pointer, you make sure you store the pointer before you delete the array because delete the node so you know where it was pointing to, and you have really simple operations like that. Um, Linked lists are just a very efficient way to build a list. There are advantages and disadvantages to it. There's a little more there's a little more operations. It takes longer to make your operations for insert and delete and find compared to an array. But if you don't know the size of your list or the fact that the list can change all the time, linked list is probably the way to go over an array. Thank you for listening. This is my first video of linked lists, and have a good day.